Hey everybody, this is Tell the True Sports Radio. I'm your host Rob Fitch. It's the NFL Divisional Round playoffs, which is great. You get to watch a lot of great NFL matchups. I'm going to talk about the matchup. It's Baltimore Buffalo. It's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, 43 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, his best year ever. Josh Allen's definitely his best year. He is playing from an IQ standpoint, running the ball, passing the ball a little more, running when he's supposed to and not when he shouldn't, not as reckless. He has 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I slightly give him the edge over Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson has Derrick Henry. Cook is nothing to sneeze at either because that's part of their running game. Baltimore has Cooper is a X factor. Cooper, because Shakir, the thing about it is Khalil Shakir's been great for the last 2 years. Now you have a 1 and a 1A. You win Super Bowls with a number one receiver and a 1A. And now you got that balance with with Kincaid and their tight ends and how they play downhill and they play physical from their quarterback on. They play really downhill when they're home. And defense. Lamar Hamlin on defenses. I know he had the heart issue a couple years ago. He has played good. I didn't know if he's going to come back. He's good. They get after you. They've struggled at times against the run game, but at home they're a lot tougher. But man, Derrick Henry had 199 yards on them last time. Lamar Jackson ran it a little bit, passed pretty good, but it was Derrick Henry, the 87-yard touchdown to start the game, and they annihilated Baltimore. I mean Buffalo and Baltimore. They're in Buffalo. This is a tough game for me to pick because I think Baltimore's a little better. Buffalo's extremely difficult to beat at home. I'll say this. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson can't be skittish. He's been like that sometimes in the playoffs. He's got to be himself, his great regular season self. He's got to be the 43 touchdown, 4 interception Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry has a running. He's not going to get 199 yards in Buffalo. He hasn't run it good enough that they're on schedule. 3rd and 4. You got to worry about Lamar Jackson running. You're going to have more of a vanilla coverage. That opens the door for Zay Flowers and what they do best. Let's get the ball to their tight ends, Andrews, and all those other monsters. But Buffalo with Kincaid and the Titans, they match Baltimore's offense with Cooper, with Amari Cooper in the fold, and Cook running. It's not as good, Cook had 1,029 yards. Derrick Henry had 2,107 yards. So that's the edge. And defensively, Hamilton's got to pick Josh Allen off. They need a turnover. Both teams look to turn for strip sacks, strip fumbles, because they even matchup. So that could be the edge. And it is Tucker over the years. Can Buffalo kicker who missed a big kick last year, can he make the big kicks? Because it's going to come down to the very little things. So that game's a toss up. If it was in Baltimore, I'm riding the Baltimore Ravens all the way through. If Kansas City gets through Texans, as difficult it is, I'd probably rather play Buffalo because of the threat of Derrick Henry. Now, if Derrick Henry was there, I'd rather play Baltimore, but he's there. That is, oof. Both teams would be tough for Kansas City if they get through the Texans. Now, Kansas City and the Texans, this is the key for the Texans. I got Kansas City winning overtime because I think this is what the Texans are going to do. They're going to flood the zone. It's not about matchup here. What are you going to do with Kelsey and all that, Singletary versus Worthy or Singletary. That's their best corner versus Hollywood Brown. It's not about that. It's about the scheme. Andy Reid has 2 weeks to diagnose the Texans who are playing a lot better. What do we do? What in the world are we going to do about their pass rush? That's the key. That is the key. I'm telling you. What do you do about all? It's very difficult. Will Will Robinson, very very good. What do you do with a guy like that? That is the key. Will Robinson is the key. I'm gonna tell you right now. And Danico Archery is good because they're gonna need to up the middle pressure. But another the big X factor that helps is Daniil Hunter. He on that other side, you have a Robinson on one side, Daniil Hunter on the other side. That's very difficult. And the Chiefs have struggled with the left and right tackles. And a lot of times you'll see them go back and they could have called illegal procedure. He goes back just a little early, and it kind of gets away with it. If he doesn't, that's trouble because you don't want illegal procedure penalties. And second and 15, as great as Mahomes is, you don't want that. I think for the key that I think the Texans are going to do to make this game, I got Kansas City in overtime. I think Texas is going to give them trouble. A lot of people are like, nah, they don't. Texas is going to score a little better than they have. They don't. They average like around 12 a game, but they really put up points last week. CJ Stroud getting a second chance, getting a second look at Spagnola's defense. They played them a couple of weeks ago, lost, and they were right in that game. Can CJ Stroud do what he has to do? But I think the key is Mixon. Mixon giving them 4 yards here, 5 yards here. 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5 is the key. If it's 3rd and 11 and Jones and the rest of those dudes are going to load up and try to attack the passer, you're in trouble. But if they stay on schedule, they have a chance. They use ball control, they have a chance. If they flood the zone, because from 10 to 20 yards, Kansas City is a chess match, and their scheme, you can't really stop from 10 to 20. Travis Kelce getting the little 10-yard passes, Greg getting those big key third down, 10, 15-yard passes. From 10 to 20, they're very difficult because they get you by death by paper cuts. They're down the field. They hit you with 10, 5 here, running here. Mahomes running. You gotta have a guy. You gotta make sure if you're playing man to man, you're paying attention to Mahomes running because he'll do it like a point guard. If a point guard has to shoot to get his team back going, he'll do it, but he prefers the passing. He does whatever it takes to win. That's what the point guard does. That's what Mahomes does. So what you got to do, you got to flood the zone. And if Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy get over the top and beat you deep, so be it. I'm totally flooded the zone, taking their comfort zone away, making them play left-handed because they're more, like I said, death by 1,000 paper cuts. They're more of a rhythm team. Move 5 here, 10 here, 5, boom, 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 and they get in the end zone. They got men kick field goals too. Win the battle of the third downs. For Kansas City, you just got to play Kansas City football. Kelce plays better in the playoffs. I know he's a little older. Every once in a while, if you get Hollywood Brown and Worthy over the top, if they do what I think they're going to do, you go over the top, you got to convert. If it's a 50-yard pass, you got to connect. And with the Hollywood Brown, the extra receiving, I just think Kansas City will just find a way to win that game. So I believe it's going to be Kansas City versus the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore. It's so close, it's hard to call. So I gave you keys for Buffalo and Baltimore. The Chiefs will have a very difficult time with either of those teams, even in Kansas City. This will be hard to three-peat. And then you have, I think, in AFC, I'm going to take a little bit of time. Washington's defense is not good enough to beat the Lions. And what the Lions do well, the Redskins don't do well. And I'll break that down from a defensive standpoint for Washington, for the Lions. From offensive standpoint, there's too many weapons because Tampa ran the ball and passed the ball on Washington, and they were fortunate that Baker Mayfield fumbled that ball in his own zone. and they were able to steal that game. You're not stealing anything in Detroit. And Washington historically has beaten Detroit. Has not only beaten them, they beat the tar out of with the Barry Sanders era and then the Billy Sims era. They went to Washington. Lions went to Washington, got destroyed. This isn't going to be an exorcism. The Washington's always been the foil to Detroit. Detroit will reverse that because I think Jared Goff's going to have time. Gibbs and Montgomery, St. Brown. It's just going to be a little too much. I just think that it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this goes. But I just think I think Detroit wins the game going away because what they do best, their defense is not super great. They're super aggressive. They like to blitz and blitz and blitz. And Washington has not done well against the blitz. And I just think in Detroit, they're going to jump on them. And that's going to be the end. And Washington's had a great season. I don't care what the score is. And now Washington wins, that's great, but Washington had a great season. The Eagles and Rams finally. The Rams are on fire. And I can see if you get Stafford going, and they're such a great, him and McVay together with Akua, and maybe you get Cooper Kupp more involved. Higbee's playing well. And then if you get Kalen Williams running the ball downhill, which McVay loves do you think he's a passing guy? He loves to run the ball downhill, which sets up all all the different pass patterns, which messes with your eye level, the way they're schemed. But Stafford's a role guy, and he's a champion. The problem is it's in Philly and the weather, and they had trouble stopping Barkley at 255 yards rushing. I think he's going to run well. They'll just if they're just solely going after Barkley, Smith, which has been really good in the playoffs, always good, and AJ Brown, which destroyed them the first time, will go clean off. And Goddard, I think Jalen Hurts, and they had trouble with running quarterbacks. It's just the Rams are going to give them a game. But the Eagles are clunky, like they're getting against the Packers. They can get beat. I think you're going to get the Eagles A game in the cold. I think that's a big factor. And they're going to figure out a way to win. You're going to see the Eagles in Detroit. And Kansas City versus the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore. I can't pick the winner. It's that close.